Hi, my name is Jassi Oberoi. I'm a multi-genre photographer, mainly doing landscapes, portraits, fashion, and anything related to that. Um my journey into photography started almost 12 to 13 years back, and it was a chance bumping into an individual who inspired me in 5 minutes for me to really come back and buy my first DSLR. I was rising a corporate ladder, and till then, I had no clue, no understanding about photography. For me, photography at that point of time was limited to what you understand, or even less than that, because that time there were no smartphones. You could not do photography through mobile phones. You needed to have a camera. And after that meeting, which was a chance meeting, unplanned meeting, I started understanding photography, I started learning photography, and never looked back after that. My first brush with Lumix cameras was in 2018. And again, I had just moved out of one particular brand. I wanted to be brand neutral. And a friend of mine who was with Lumix approached me. And that was the first time I actually started actively thinking about Lumix or Panasonic, or started getting to understand this brand or even know this brand. And I must say that we all live in our own boxes. When we are doing photography, we do not think beyond certain brands that we usually think of, that we usually come across. And it was the first time I realized that there's much more than those more popular brands, and I am so happy and delighted that I could come across Lumix, and I could test Lumix, and I could even adopt Lumix as a brand, as a camera, which I now use extensively. So I have used many brands over the years, and after I started using Lumix, I realized that there are a few things which are really good about Lumix. And first thing that stands out is its natural colors and the contrast that it gives. Because till then, I was getting used to a certain color bias and little high contrasty kind of images that used to come out of them. But I just fell in love with the colors and the contrast that Lumix cameras gave me. Apart from that, when I started using Lumix, that time the entire photography industry was going through a change, a kind of shift that was happening, where photographers were trying to get into cinematography also, or videography as well. And there is a camera. Each camera of Lumix is almost a pure hybrid camera, unless we talk about only cinema-centric cameras. But normal cameras, they are pure hybrid. That means full feature still photography and full feature videography. That, I think, is a differentiator. For me, when I'm using camera to shoot both, I need not switch cameras, one for photography and one for videography. I can just turn the switch and I can really start shooting both with equal finesse and control. As a landscape photographer, primarily, I always wanted to do time lapses. Always wanted to do hyperlapses. But as an individual, I am little lethargic. I focus more on photography. I focus more while what I want to shoot, creating content, and I'm little lethargic when I have to come and post-process those. Post-processing images had become my second nature, but post-processing images or footages to create time lapses was something that I was not able to adopt to. And while I was with other brands, I used to shoot footages for time lapses, but they continue to lie in my hard drives. They would never come out. Now with Lumix, I have found it really easy because everything happens within camera. I don't have to do anything. I can create time lapse in camera, and I can really create the final outcome in any resolution, whether I want in full HD or I want in 4K. I can get it at the press of a button. I don't have to come down to the computer setup to process them. There are many other features which aid in my photography workflow. For example, if I try and create content, then there are high resolution modes. There are many more such modes which really help my workflow in a major way. I always believed that any camera should always come to your aid in terms of your workflow. If it starts forcing me to adopt to newer things, newer methods, going beyond camera to create my final content, they are actually creating a hindrance rather than becoming an aid. This is where Lumix stands apart, and I really don't have to get into a lot of post-processing to create the content. And one such recent example is real-time LUT, where I really can color grade my vlog footages within camera without having to really go into complicated post-processing techniques. So I really found my association with Panasonic as a whiff of fresh air because the relationship that I was building, whatever I was giving as inputs to Panasonic, they were receptive to that, and their support has been immense. In Panasonic, I found a brand where I could come back after the shoot, sit with their technical team, and share the challenges that I faced as a photographer, or while creating video, the challenges that I faced. And the same were being highlighted to the technical team in Japan, and resolutions were found, and tweaks were done using their firmware upgrades and all. And I really found this to be very, very supportive. I think Lumix has gone a step ahead, trying to support me and helping me build a better relationship with Panasonic. Lumix has always been a artist-centric brand, keeping in mind the type of features that Lumix has always given in their cameras. And one thing I really like about Lumix is that if a feature is possible to be given in an entry-level camera, they would give it. They would not isolate that feature only for a high-end camera, and that is one hallmark feature of a brand like Lumix. Having said that, I still feel that Lumix cameras are probably the finest cameras in terms of technology, in terms of features available in the industry today. And I say this with a lot of responsibility, having used many other brands of cameras. But what Lumix or Panasonic lacks today is their aggressive marketing strategies. I think as a brand, if they can really up their game in terms of marketing, they are a force to reckon with. They'll be a force to reckon with. Feature-wise, I don't see anything wrong. I don't think that I need to even recommend anything to Lumix, because their current cameras are at par and beyond other brands of cameras which are in the similar price range. So nothing to advise them on this, but yes, marketing, if they can do that. Recently, I got one pleasant surprise that I got an invitation from Lumix Japan to visit Tokyo for the global conference, and I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised and happy to see that Lumix had come out with a new feature, particularly in terms of focusing, and they introduced phase hybrid autofocus system, which is a game changer for Lumix, I must say. And This technological advancement in their latest camera, Lumix S5 Mark II, has been one big leap, because the generation 1 hybrid phase hybrid autofocus system is much better than the phase detect autofocus system, which is, I think, age 4 or level 5 of other brands, which speaks volumes. And I'm using this technology to up my game as a creator and as a photographer and videographer. While with other camera brands, when I was using, and when I started knowing about Lumix, I realized that how ill-informed or how less informed we are beyond our brands that we are using. And I must say that my shifting the brand was a huge blessing on my own workflow, my own skill enhancement as a photographer and videographer. And if you are not on Lumix, you must check, try, test for yourself and find out why I say that. Because, and I always say that people like us are not big names which could endorse any brand and get away with it. We rely on our credibility, on our word of mouth that we say. There are thousands of photographers who are starting their journey. They look up to us. So anything wrong just because we are trying to promote a brand, if it goes out, then we lose our credibility. So if I say, and if somebody like me says that Lumix is good in this, you must try and figure it out yourself. Why do we say that? And is it really different? That trying at your end will be probably the game changer for you as well. Anybody of you watching this and you are new to photography or you're thinking of getting into photography, just understand there are two aspects to grow. One is the technical aspect, which is the camera. Second is the creative aspect, which is you. You would have heard n number of times that a person behind the camera matters the most. But let me break that myth also, because it always takes two to tango. You cannot do anything on your own if your gear is not good enough. And no matter how good your gear is, if you are not skilled enough, you also cannot get the best out of your camera gear. So if you are deciding to buy your camera, buy which is future ready, which you think can serve your needs for at least 4 to 5 years from now. That is where Lumix fits in, or whatever brand you decide to go for. And then, to do full justice, take time out to enhance your skills, invest. After investing in camera, invest more in your skill enhancement, and I'm sure you will do wonders.